Hey guys, Jay
and Nick,
and welcome to Eons of Battle. We are embarking on our greatest and most ridiculous painting project of our lives as we paint for a week straight. Stay tuned, Extreme Makeover 40K Edition.
we've been playing Warhammer since high school, and I'm sure like many of our viewers, times have changed, projects came and went, and the first models you bought got left behind like your Beanie Baby collection in the early 2000s.
When you bought those first models, they were your best friends. But now, the only friends those models have are dust bunnies. Those past projects start to feel like a waste of space, and you may have even had a dark thought to sell them on eBay to someone else who won't finish them.
We've both had our finger on that sell button for years, as our first models, Orcs and Necrons, the miniatures that started our adventure into 40K, lay broken and forgotten. A sad pile of parts and models begging to be restored again.
As the new year started, we decided, after getting our new filming space ready, it was time to show respect to those old models and get them all done.
We have exactly 1 free week to get these models complete, and we'll be going all in, working as hard as we can to get these armies finished.
It's not a vacation, it's not a staycation, it's a 40cation. And speaking of which, we have a challenge for all of you out there with models that need to get done. Stay tuned to the end of the video to hear about that. But without further ado, let's look at the armies. These are all my Necrons. I picked Necrons on a whim in high school because they jumped out at me as an army I could understand. Robots. It wasn't until after reading the lore that I really understood how amazing the Crons really are. I bought some models here and there, and when my birthday came around, my uncle showed his support by buying the codex for me. That codex never left my backpack, and I read it on every bus ride to and from school, every lunch period, and every detention. I have read and reread this codex hundreds of times. My Necron army exploded, but the flame that burns twice as hot dies twice as fast. And, frustrated at how badly my Necrons were painted, I pivoted to Space Marines of the Black Templar chapter. My skills had grown, but my Necrons still looked like baby's first models, so my Necrons languished in a cardboard tomb. I never stopped loving Necrons, but I did stop painting them, for about 5 years. But recently, I had the idea to revamp them. I painted up 5 Immortals, swapping the light blue energy highlights for red, orange, and yellow. And this is what sold me on my new scheme. I'm keeping the white bodies, and I hope I can salvage most of the paint, so that it'll save me a lot of time. My Canop units, like these spiders, are pretty good, the best thing I'd painted at the time, and they just need some touch-ups and a swap of the energy. My vehicles, on the other hand, let's just say they need some TLC. The Necrons are the oldest race in the galaxy, the oldest by far, and it's time for them to awaken from their great slumber. And it doesn't hurt that Games Workshop is pumping out hot new Necron models either.
Here are all my orcs. They have existed in various cardboard boxes and have moved back and forth through 2 different states. To even be able to get them on this table, I had to repair half of them that exploded apart over the past 6 years. The reason why I started orcs was because of the adorable Gretchen models. Jay painted up some Gretchen as a side project, and I loved them so much I decided that was the army for me. It also helped that a buddy of ours gave me his Assault on Blackreach orcs for free. They were in rough shape since he put them together when he was 10, but that was a start. Now you may say, Nick, orcs are green, why are yours blue? And to that I say, I just wanted to be cool and different, and the lore for them was that they were from an ocean and muddy world and the blue skin helped them blend in. From there, I kept adding until I had an overwhelming amount of boys and barely any elites or transports. I was losing games, so I just kept buying and playing with gray models until I got to the point in which there wasn't enough time in the day to tackle all those bodies. I also started college, and time was precious, so the boys went back into the box, never to be seen again. But before we started the challenge, I actually took some boys and revived them. I have models that can be salvaged with some new paint, otherwise known as the Repo Boys, and of course, a ton of gray models. When I was a wee lad, I wasn't skilled enough to highlight and layer paint onto their base-coated and washed bodies. But now, look at these cuties. I brightened up all their colors and have new lore for them. They are the Beach Boys, pirate-themed orcs that just want the booty. I replaced the dark mud pool bases with a sandy beach. Just add a beach ball and a few shells and these are good to go. Now that I have these test models, I'm super excited to get going on these minis. They feel like they have a purpose now, which makes it a lot easier to sit down and start painting.
So, the plan is we will paint like fiends and film ourselves for 7 days. We will eat paint, sleep paint, and paint paint. We will set ourselves goals and knock out as many models as we possibly can.
And on Sunday at midnight, we'll put down our brushes, and what models are finished are finished. On Monday, we'll start this whole journey off.
Hey guys, it's about 9 in the morning and I'm about to get started working on my Necrons. Today I gotta finish 80 warriors, that way I'll be on schedule and I'll be looking good to finish.
Only losers start at 9. I was up an hour before, prepping models for priming.
I started this monstrosity by adding the shadows to my Necrons that High School Jay didn't have the skills to pull off, with some Black Minotaur Ghost Tint Oil Discharge.
It was time for myself to whip out the old airbrush too. I added some lovely gray paper so I wouldn't make a mess. I've had this Vallejo black primer for years and it certainly gave me a lot of trouble with all the clogs.
My airbrush never clogs as I prime and base coat my Necron Warriors and Immortals, and after I applied a nice wash to their cold, dead necrodermis.
Alright, so it's after 12, I put the boys over there to dry, and now I'm going to start fixing the old ones. I painted these boys in high school, and looking at them now, they definitely need a nice light blue highlight to brighten up their skin.
So now comes the simple task of base coating 100 Necron weapons with some Black Templar contrast paint. Base coating these gas flares took me the rest of the evening. It was not much fun, but necessary. Day 1 done. I got almost all the Necron Warriors finished. I was hoping to get all 80 of them completely done, but hopefully tomorrow will go better.
Alright, so this is the end of day 1. And I got about 70 repo boys blued up. And the goal was 170, so that's not good. Alright, so it's day 2, and so I think the first thing I'm going to do today is a little bit of prep work on some bases, and then I'll probably get back into painting the flesh on the orcs. Adding bases to your loose models is helpful for painting and to make them feel like they're not hot garbage rolling around in a cardboard box.
While Nick was doing that, I was fixing my hot garbage, my flayed ones, by priming them with some black primer.
Alright, I'm continuing bluing up some orcs. It's taking a long time, but I think it'll be worth it when they're all done.
I wasn't happy with the dark red I started with, so I decided to re-base coat all the energy parts with a much brighter red.
Oops.
I probably lost an hour to this blunder, but it looks much better this way. After the red, I airbrushed on some orange speckles by turning the PSI way down and the orange paint way up.
I think next is painting the primed models. I'm base coating the models with Vallejo Ultramarine Blue, and it's so much quicker to use the airbrush. I then airbrushed the highlights with the Vallejo Electric Blue. It was super enjoyable to see this big step go quickly.
I was airbrushing too. I airbrushed red ink to make the Necron eyes glow. It's not the most convincing effect, but it is what I did in high school, and it makes me happy to keep that little detail carried over. With the Warriors done, I finished up the night by doing some brush work on my Immortals. I was feeling good after finishing all those Warriors. I stayed up extra late to apply the decals to the Immortals' shoulders. Day 2, it took me a little longer than I wanted it to, but I got the 80 Warriors finished, and I did the lion's share of 20 Immortals, so feeling pretty good.
Alright, so things are looking up, I think. So I finished the Repo Boys, and then I finished the Prime Boys. So all the skin is done, and so now I can just move on to base coating.
As I was drifting off to sleep that night, my mind couldn't help but drift to our wonderful patrons over on Patreon. We make wargaming and modeling videos non-stop, and our patrons are what make it possible. If you join us on Patreon, you'll get access to some behind-the-scene content, voting on what models I paint live on YouTube, extra live streams every week, and more. But now, it's time for me to get some rest. I have lots of painting to do.
Alright, 10:30, 40, and I'm getting back to work. Gonna crank out these Necron Immortals, just a little bit left to do on them, and then I'm gonna get to work on some vehicles.
I finished up the Immortals, and nothing gets me more pumped than finishing models. So getting these done early in the day gave me the shot in the ass I needed to keep going.
While Jay was busy winning, I was working hard on adding shadows to the undersides of my boys using black ink through the airbrush.
This was a time sink. Ghost Arcs are tricky models to begin with, and mine were in rough shape. It took me forever to fix or build any missing parts and get them ready for paint. Also, Games Workshop flying stands are a crime against humanity, so I made my own out of MDF wood board. These are much better shape and size for the humongous transports.
It was time to base coat these bad boys, but I was slowly realizing how long it was going to take, especially because I had to do a lot of the base coating by hand.
Luckily, I didn't have to do much by hand. I started airbrushing my Ghost Arcs white on top and gray on the bottom to give them a little dimension. When it came time to wash these, I started with a brush, but quickly realized it was way too slow, so I poured the whole bottle into my airbrush, hosed them down, and wiped them up with a paper towel.
I'm over here still base coating all my models.
It's getting late, and I finished off the night by base coating the guns with some contrast black Templar, applied some red ink through the airbrush for the energy, I added some Vallejo liquid copper for style, and finally some nice Necron decals to taste. Day 3, finished the 20 Immortals and 2 Ghost Arcs. Not where I wanted to be, but still feeling pretty good.
Alright, so we moved on to base coating today, and I got the leather done on the vast majority of the boys. Alright, so it is day 4. It's just after 8:30, and I'm gonna continue base coating, which is my favorite thing to do. I have truly never had more fun in my life.
I started the day right by painting some flayed ones. The skin took some time because I had to highlight with the brush, but I got it done in record time.
I'm still going at it.
Alright, starting strong today. 20 Necron flayed ones finished. I'm gonna go get something to eat, take the dogs around the block, and then get back to it.
While I was walking my dogs, I was thinking about how I would paint my Canoptech units.
You know me, base coating these boys.
Getting back to it, these wraiths were the best thing I had ever painted in my youth, and now in my old age, I am making them even better.
It's all about that base. Coat.
After airbrushing, I made up a black oil wash to help me pin shade all those little details on my wraiths and spiders. The oil mixture flows right where I want it to go.
You better believe I'm still base coating away.
Day 4, finished 29 models, my whole pack of flayed ones, and all my Canoptech units, so feeling pretty good.
I don't know if you know this, but I did a lot of base coating today.
New day, new painting project. Today I'm gonna be working on my tomb blades and all of my destroyers. Let's get to work.
I did all the modeling in high school, but never got around to finishing the paint, so really, this was a 6-year painting process. When they were ship-shape, I fixed their bases to match the new scheme.
Alright, so it's day 5, and you may be saying, Nick, you seem to have a lot of models that aren't done, and you're right. So I think my goal is to at least finish the knobs, and I have 15 knobs to finish. I think if I can get beyond the base coat stage today, I think I'll totally be able to make it. I mean, today's day 5, I have at least 2 more days to work on it, so 3 days left. I'll be in a good place if I can get these base coated, so let's get started with that. I just kept right on base coating.
I couldn't really preserve any of the paint on my destroyers, so they got repainted with black primer, iron hull gray, Fenrisian gray, and white paint, which is my new recipe for Necrons.
Base coat.
To keep the airbrushing off the bodies of my Scorpec destroyers, I did the old tinfoil and silly putty trick. Tinfoil and silly putty make great masking and is safe for even fresh paint.
Base coating is fun to do. Oh wait, that's not true.
Day 5 over, I got almost the entire destroyer cult finished. Hopefully I can wrap them up real quick tomorrow and move on.
Alright, so still highlighting and base coating, and hopefully I'll get that done tomorrow, but I said that 2 days ago, so I don't know. Alright, so it's day 6, and I got a lot of models, and I don't think that they're gonna get done. And the reason is because I have to use the brush. That's just the way that I paint, that's the way that these are, and so that it takes a long time. So what I'm thinking is, because I want to finish at least one model during this time, maybe I paint the battle wagon. And so I have some things that I want to try out, and I think this could be a good candidate to finish. With this new plan, I was actually feeling excited again to get working.
While Nick was feeling invigorated, I was slowly finishing up my destroyer cult by doing all the brush work. At this point, I was also feeling worn out. This week was brutal, and I didn't do any planning to make it go smoothly.
I started out by priming the model black, but you could also use a rattle can. Then I used Vallejo Charred Brown on the model. When I chip the paint off, you'll be able to see the brown underneath, and I find it looks much better than a silver or gunmetal color. I then applied a matte varnish so I wouldn't scrape off the paint I already applied. After that was dry, I applied a chipping medium all over the model.
While Nick was cracking up, I went ahead and primed and base coated all the remaining models, even though I know I won't really have time to get them all finished. To finish off the night, I worked on the 3 walkers, highlighting all the little glowy energy tubes and balls that the Necrons are famous for.
Speaking of balls, I started base coating the battle wagon with scale 75 deep red so that my orange color would look fiery. It was my first time using chipping medium, and I started getting cracks in my red base coat because I over applied the medium, and my red was too watery. But it still looks neat. I started adding Vallejo Orange Fire, keeping some of the red underneath as shadows. I wanted the lower parts of the model to stay more red and the tops to be as orange as an orange. I then sprayed areas of interest with white paint to make them even brighter. To continue varying panels, I sprayed a burnt sienna ink through my airbrush towards the bottom of the battle wagon and the panels on the top of the model. This will make the battle wagon look more worn and natural. I kept adding more visual interest to some areas with red ink, which worked quite nicely with the orange. Then it was time to get chipping. To chip, I wetted the model with a brush and used a toothpick to rip off the paint. Inside, I used a brush to make it much more chipped than the outside. Once the model looked chipper, I base coated the pipes and decorations with lead belcher with black mixed in 1:1, and slowly highlighted them up to silver. I painted the bandages a brown and highlighted those up to white. I wanted to find a way to bring the blue of the boys back in, so I painted some panels Vallejo Hammered Copper and then sponged on Citadel Aramon Blue and Cybrite Green to create a verdigris effect.
I worked long into the night trying to get these Necron Triarch Stalkers finished, but at 4 AM there was no gas left in the tank and I admitted defeat. Day 6 finished off the Destroyer Cult, the Tomb Blades, and I primed and base coated everything else. I don't know if I'm going to finish, but I have finished a lot.
Alright, so I got about 80% of the battle wagon done today, and I'm finally excited about this project again. I'm definitely not going to finish everything, but if I can get this battle wagon done, things are looking good. Alright, so day 7. So this is the last day, and I don't have a lot of physical models done, but look at this. I'm really pleased with how this battle wagon is coming, and I'm going to finish it, and then hopefully move on to the trucks. I wanted to airbrush the wheels, and was going to mask everything, but I decided to just go for it. I started by airbrushing on a black ink to make the wheels darker. Then, with a mix of Citadel Celestra Gray and Vallejo Electric Blue, I hit the tops of the wheels and tracks. I then went in with dried bark to make the sand High School Nick applied look like barnacles have grown on the sides of the wheels.
About 12 hours left, time to base 150 some models.
Now I faced the pains of base coating. This took forever and was a slog and a half, but I was fueled by knowing that soon this madness would be over.
I had my own madness over here, and I decided to go with an oil wash. First, I gloss coated the model to protect the paint job and to allow the wash to flow smoothly. I panel lined the whole model with Prussian blue oil mixed with mineral spirits, and I dotted every single rivet on the wagon. It took a long time to do, but the results made it well worth it.
After every base had been yellowed, I went in one by one and rubbed some red pigment powders into the sand flocking of the base. And after the mess I made with the red, I gave the edges of every base 2 coats of P3 Iron Hull Gray. I didn't want to do black because black is an accent color with my Necrons, so gray would be a nice compromise that won't compete.
With the hours getting low, I primed all the vehicles and mech guns black with my airbrush, and then browned them with some Vallejo charred brown. The last thing I was able to do was matte coat all the models so that they are ready to get chipping medium applied at a later date. With these models, I'll use a similar formula to the battle wagon to get them all painted up.
With every model based, I didn't have enough time to finish anything else, so I grabbed my Necron Overlord from Indominus and just worked on him, and waited for the time to run out. A nice relaxing end to this whirlwind of a week.
Well, that was sure a week. And we are barely, staying alive, staying alive. I'd say for me, the week probably went as good as it could have. I didn't finish everything, but I finished the majority, so I'm feeling pretty good. The thing that really slowed me down was fixing broken models. It took way longer than I thought it would, and it would have been nice to only have to paint for 7 days. The thing that really made this possible was the airbrush. Spraying on my colors was so fast, and it made me feel like I was actually accomplishing something. Spraying thin layers allowed me to keep the colors underneath and just add to them, saving me lots of time. Now that this challenge is over, I am invigorated to keep going with my Necrons. I still have the Flyers and Scarab Swarms to finish, and I want to pour hours into my Necron HQs and give them the paint jobs that they deserve. All in all, I'm pretty happy with this endeavor. And now it's time for the big reveal. What was once an old sloppy army is now a gleaming monolith, a shrine to all things Necron. I couldn't be happier with how things turned out. My warriors are looking sharp now with bright orange bases and guns instead of the old lame light blue. My spiders have been taken up a notch with brighter whites and darker darks and the new hot orange glow instead of the light blue that was barely noticeable before. And what is there to say about the ghost arcs? They're actually built and painted now. My Necrons are ready to be unleashed upon the galaxy once more.
For me, the week was pretty rough.
I can definitely say halfway through I wanted to put all those models back in the box and ship them off to Nottingham. What got me was all the base coating, and I was a little delusional to think that it wouldn't take too long.
I mean, come on.
The skin, shirts, weapons, straps, random bits, and of course pants.
Did I really think I was going to get to lining these pirate pants this week?
Only a goose would think that. I think if I just tackled the new boys and didn't paint the repo boys, I could have gotten a lot further.
But those last 2 days of the week were super fun.
Just working on the battle wagon and trying stuff out was so great. Seeing the results right away from the airbrushing was super satisfying, and I should have found more places to use it. The battle wagon turned out great. And I know what you're saying, but Nick, where's all the other parts? And to that I say,
just let me have this one, okay?
I'm in love with this vehicle, and it makes me excited to work on the next trucks, mech guns, and eventually Killicans. It was truly a great way to end the week. For now, I'm going to keep picking at these boys and continue to get them painted. My next group I want to focus on are the knobs. And then after that, my HQs are in dire shape. I basically don't have HQs that are together. But I'm excited about the boys again and looking forward to getting them finished.
I would say after 6 years, it's finally time to get them done.
7 days of painting, I can't say I recommend it. It was a neat experience, but I probably could have prepared better. And 7 days of painting is probably too much for anyone. Maybe a nice painting weekend would have been better.
It was a week of painting, so now it's time for a week of sleeping. We don't have to do this again, but now we know for the future.
When you have all these models like we do, it can be hard to keep yourself working. What was super helpful for us was we were doing it together.
We both held each other accountable to finish as many models as we could, and every night we had a call to see where each other was at.
That brings us to our challenge for you, to help give you another incentive to finish models. A big change we want to make to our content is to bring our viewers into the videos.
This hobby is really challenging, in a way others aren't. It takes a lot of perseverance to actually get these models built and painted, and it's a real achievement when you pull it off.
Our challenge is to take a picture of a work-in-progress mini. It can be a repo model on sprue, barely painted, or new in box. It can be anything as long as it isn't complete. And then take a picture of it completely finished, painted, based, and ready for a game or the display shelf.
Share these photos as one post on Instagram or Twitter using the hashtag EOBcomplete, or, better yet, join the new Eons of Battle Discord server and drop the photos there. We'll select a few to put into our Wednesday video, and if we start getting a ton, we'll put them in all the videos.
We will put your before and after photos in the video and shout out your username. It doesn't matter if you are a beginner, a pro, or a Golden Demon winner. The goal is to get models done, and as they say, slay the gray.
The more you paint, the more you learn, and don't worry if your models aren't perfect. Our goal is to foster an encouraging community that appreciates the amount of work and talent it takes to get minis complete. Seeing completed goodness every week will create a snowball of beautiful models that will help everyone. We hope you enjoyed this ridiculous video, and we hope you'll join us on our hobby adventure. And as always, thanks for watching. I kind of took a big break in the middle because I ate like so much Chinese food.
And you had diarrhea.
No.
That would do it.